Okay, so Mr. Brown, last time we met, we were talking about your lesson that you did with your students, and you did a lesson on retelling, right?
Yes.
You read them a book.
Yes.
And then you had the students writing out the retelling on, was it on a graphic organizer or just on
a graphic organizer?
Graphic organizer, okay. And you said that during...
So and then the goal after the graphic organizer was for them to like talk about the story and write a full piece. So use the graphic organizer to help them
write a full piece.
Yeah,
okay.
to full piece.
Okay, and you said that the main issue that you were seeing was that the students weren't engaged and that they weren't really necessarily on task.
Yeah, so they would start off writing and then they would kind of go on to do their own thing. So yeah, it was started off with good intentions and then it kind of fell apart. They weren't interested in doing the writing.
Okay, so we discussed that one way that we were going to try to make it more engaging was by implementing a technology tool.
Yes.
Okay, so the one that I picked out for you is an app called Pixton. It's a comic strip making technology tool online.
Okay.
Now this one I did have to pay for, but I'm sure that we could locate a free one for us to use for future lessons.
Okay.
But it's a comic strip making tool, which I think would be really fun and exciting for the kids.
Yeah, and a way to retell it, retell the story. Okay.
And I think it would lend itself well to retelling because it's in sequence and we can tie in some sequencing words.
Okay.
So while you're observing me teaching the lesson, I'm going to be using this checklist, and you'll also have access to this checklist where you can kind of like go through it with me as I'm teaching.
Okay.
So these are kind of the steps that we're going to take. So the first one we're going to do is I'm going to either on the same day or the day before read them a short story.
Okay.
Kind of review what retelling is, discuss the beginning, middle, and end.
Okay.
And review those sequencing words that we need to use.
Okay.
We're going to talk about how when retelling they need to use character names, settings, and key events.
Okay.
And then I'll kind of introduce comic stripping.
So I guess that's the kind of question I had right there. So with this new tool, how do you maybe introduce like a new technology piece?
So first I'm going to introduce comic stripping in general, which like as you know, a lot of our kids are into like the Captain Underpants or those graphic novels.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll kind of refer back to their graphic novels for them to make a connection.
Okay.
And then I'll show them some various comic strips online, and then I'll introduce the new technology tool. So what I'll do is I'll kind of,
got it.
when I pull it up, I'll briefly explain what it is and what its purpose is and how we're going to use it.
Okay.
And then I'll demonstrate how to use it with the kids.
Okay. So you won't just give it to them and say, this is what we're doing.
No.
Make sure you're spending that time to go over the tools. Okay.
Yeah, I'm really gonna demonstrate it and show them how to use it first.
Gotcha.
So since the main goal here was for the students to be more engaged, we're going to monitor the student engagement by walking around while the students are using the tool. And we're going to address technical issues as they come up. And then we're going to use an observation checklist in addition to this one to kind of keep track of the students that are engaged and on track.
To make sure that they're doing, there's something actually different.
Yes.
Got it.
We're going to facilitate the retelling activity by encouraging collaboration discussion at the tables, because that's really the piece that you said you wanted, was that they're going to write about it later.
Okay.
So they're going to discuss and talk about the retelling before they start implementing it onto the
Got it.
strip.
Okay. So then even the ones who are lower will have an idea on what to do because they'll be talking together. That's a beautiful idea.
Exactly. And then we're going to guide students to focus on the key elements, using those sequencing words. Maybe for some of the lower kids, we could like just give them a certain words to use, like first, then next, last.
Some sentence starters.
Exactly. And then we're going to provide support just as we're walking around. We're going to offer help to them as needed. If we need to pull a small group, we can do that.
Okay.
And just really kind of gauge the effectiveness and their overall engagement.
And so do you think it would be helpful to have them use that graphic organizer first to retell it, and then that final piece would be to create the comics, or go straight into talk about the story right into the comic strips?
That's a good question. What we could do is we could get a basic comic strip looking graphic organizer for them to kind of sketch their idea first before going into it. But maybe introduce the technology first so they know it's coming.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that way they're not just bored and thinking this is all they're doing.
Got it.
They know that after that they're going to get to make a comic strip.
Plus
online.
they'll have that motivational tool at the end. If they finish this, then they can go on to the comic strips. Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do as you observe the lesson. I'll be using this checklist, and then you'll also be using it. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the comic strip that you guys made a draft of yesterday, right? We have the plan. You should have the main characters. You should have dialogue, and you should have a setting, right? So now we get to use Pixton to create our comic strip online, okay? So if you're not sure how to get there, make sure you go to Clever where everything is, and you'll see it. I added it as the most recent. When you go to my page, so you make sure you go to my page, and it is the most recent one, okay? Now, when you pull yours up, it's gonna look different than mine. It's fine. Here we go. When you first log in, it's gonna prompt you to make your avatar. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to create your avatar because I know you're gonna wanna do that, okay? That's where you create you. I'm gonna give you 5, maybe 8 minutes to create your avatar. But then once that time is up, we have to move on and start creating our comics, okay? But I know that's gonna be distracting and that y'all are gonna wanna do that, so we will. But once you get in, you're gonna be given a blank box. You need to add your person. So use your plan that you have to kind of guide what that box should look like, okay? Now it's not obviously gonna look exactly like the way that you drew it because we're limited to what the app has, okay? But you're gonna be able to get pretty close to it. So think about what Grace looked at. So in this one, Sasha has Grace talking to her committee, okay? So she's gonna go to add person, and she's gonna create her person. Now remember, when you go to your person, you're gonna go to basic because the other ones are real people. So you're gonna go to basic, and you're gonna kind of find one that looks most like what a little girl would wear, right? Like, is she gonna be wearing this?
No.
No. So find an outfit that like a little girl at school might be wearing, and you can also search, okay? So if you want to find someone, you can just say girl, okay? And then you can kind of make her, so I'll just put in, I'm gonna type in girl. Little girl, let's do that. Oh, I have to log back in. So I'll put little girl. Nah, I don't want that one.
No.
Let's just put girl in basic. Okay, so you can just pick one. Now, she doesn't have to look the way that you have her here because I'm gonna fix what her hair looks like, I'm gonna fix what her outfit looks like, but there's a little girl. So then you can go in and change her skin color, you can change her hair color, you can change what her hairstyle, and then when you wanna put in your background, then you go up and you put in background, okay? Am I gonna put in the beach?
No.
No, where is she in the beginning?
School.
At school. So you can type and search school and put her in a school, okay? When you wanna add dialogue, you put in words, and you can either put in a caption. That's like we talked about, it kind of explains what's happening in the picture, and that's where you can use those sequencing words like first, then, next, last. Or if you want it to be a speech bubble like you guys have in your comics, then you can just put in speech and you can add the words in, okay? So once you're finished making your first box, I know some of you have 6, some of you have 3 boxes. When you're finished making your first box, you click the plus sign and you move on to the next box, okay? That's why we created these plans, is so that you don't even have to think about what each box is gonna look like. You already kind of know, and now you just have to put it into the app, okay? Make sense? Okay, so when I say go back to your seats and get your plan out. If you have not finished your plan, then that's what you're doing. You're working on your plan. And if you have finished, then you may get your laptop out first and then go ahead and log into Pixton. Make sense? Okay, so if you're not finished, or if you need to fix it, like I said, some of you need to go back because we didn't pick out the right key details to go with the main idea, then we need to fix it first, and then you can get on. Make sense? All right, you may go.
I think they might be here. Weather thing I'll do. My weather sheet. I think. I'm gonna change my background.
Okay, so we're back.
Okay.
We completed the lesson. I went through all the steps that we talked about previously on the checklist. So let's kind of talk it through and see what you thought about the lesson after you observed it. So first of all, like overall as a lesson and as the new technology tool that we use today, what did you think?
No, overall, I really enjoyed it. Compared to like how I did and when I taught it, I noticed that the kids, when you're talking together, that's the same thing we had. We were all together and we're good and excited about it. But then when you broke them down and you explained that we're next going to create our own comics, that kind of kept the momentum.
Okay, good. What parts of the lesson did you think went really well?
Oh, like I said, them being excited about the information that they had, and then applying it to what they know or showing that they can do that. So that was really the coolest part watching you.
Okay, and you think that they had we were having good conversations?
Yes,
and
yes,
discussions?
yes. And it seemed that again that motivation at the end really helped them be into it and doing the work.
Because they really want to see the final product.
Exactly. Yeah. So they can show something.
Exactly. Okay. Did you feel that the students were more engaged during this lesson?
Yes. In comparing it to mine, I know my kids get really excited, and the fact that you introduced this new app, I did see a couple kids were getting bogged down in kind of the details. So I think the only thing I might do slightly different or change is just give them time to work on it themselves and just play with the app so they can get that out of the way, out their system.
I agree with that. Just give them time to kind of mess around with it before actually using it for what we want them to use it for. That makes sense. Because they were very excited.
Yes.
And after looking over some of their final products, did you feel like they were quality and that they kind of met the goal that we wanted it to?
Oh no, while you were doing it, I was thinking, I need to take some of these so I can show my kids what this is supposed to look like, so they have a good examples of what good work does. So yours did exactly what I was trying to get mine to do the first time.
Good. And I think a really good next step would to take those comic strips and then they can apply it and write their piece, because I know you want them to finish writing
yes, that would be and then they can have, because they're not always going to be able to write about it,
Exactly.
but at least they have this tool to help them show that they know how to do it. So when they can take that and then write about it, or use those same steps.
Exactly. And I do think it was a good idea that we had them use the graphic organizer first with a basic comic strip outline to kind of guide their thinking.
Yes, because then they had a structured idea on what they're doing, opposed to just I get a lot of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in what other ways do you see this technology tool being useful for you in the future?
So you used it as a retelling. I think this would also be really good at for their writing pieces. Have them structure out what they're going to write, and then create a comic about it, and then they can go back and write about it.
Okay, good. And we could probably even pull it into different subject areas.
Oh yes, because we're learning about Native Americans, and later on we'll be doing explorers, so that would be a good time to use those and talk about them.
I think it would lend itself really well to that. That'd be great. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.